Now, just for people who are unfamiliar, who are listening now, I refer to you as a trailblazer, even though in my book you're still quite young, um, um, because you are. I mean, to everyone's knowledge, I mean, you're the first Black woman to be a play-by-play commentator for college football on a major network. You do more than college football, obviously. You do women's basketball, you do volleyball, you do softball, but the reality is that very few people, or at least across the course of my lifetime, I've seen very few women, and very few Black women in particular, who are in the play by play arena. So I want to break that down with you a little bit. Tell me how this dream of doing play by play, besides listening to Harry Carey, tell me how this dream materialized for you. When did it get in your system that you wanted to do play by play?
Well, you said it was young, so I wanted to be a sportscaster at the age of 5 years old. Got that in my early childhood yearbook, right? Of what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think it morphed into play by play once I realized in my adult life, kind of getting into the business, that there are not many women at all in the play by play chair. And so for the men that I grew up listening to, I thought, well, there's a space and time and an opportunity for me. So when I was working in Orlando, Florida, which was kind of like mid 2000s, which is where we had the opportunity to meet, I worked at Central Florida News 13, and they started a 24-hour sports network called Bright Health Sports Network. And it was there where I really got introduced to play by play on a more local, regional level. I had done some in college when I was at FAMU, but had not really gotten any reps because there weren't many places for you to do that. So I was calling basketball and volleyball and all the sports that you named. And I was just like, I love this. Like, I love this because I like being in control. I like being able to tell the stories that I want to tell, or sharing um, just background on players. I get into that. I love it. So I had that opportunity when I was in Orlando, and then the ESPN Wide World of Sports was there. So I got a chance to have those opportunities and reps. So I don't know. I just always loved sport. It spoke to me. I wasn't going to play at the highest level. So I wanted that opportunity to do it and stay connected to the game any way I could.
Now, play by play, I think most people certainly would agree, and I think we know this just as sports fans. Like, it's such a unique skill set. So, how does one go about developing that? Because this is really, it's. I look at it from afar as somebody who, like you, is in broadcasting, but I would want no parts of play by play. So, how is this a skill set that you developed?
That's a great question, Jamel, because it's like I think I'm a active listener, but a passive listener. I like doing a whole lot of things at one time. I'm best when there is chaos as opposed to really focusing in on one thing. So my job is the who, what, when, where, and the analyst's job is the how and why. They get to shine. They have the experience, and I get to tell the backstories. So I I'm not sure how I developed it over time, but I was in news for a long time. So I was used to being able to tell stories and make contacts and, kind of do the business side of it. But then, too, I guess it was just a transformation of telling stories in a longer format. So active listening, being able to balance multiple things at one time, and then just trying to read the moment, feel the moment, and understand what you're seeing, and sharing what others can't see because you're the eyes and ears there. I think it was just a development over time, and you copy a lot when you start off, right? Because you hear what other people are doing. You try to have a call and you try to have a
So
sound,
wait, so who
you
were you?
know.
Who were you copying when you first started?
Um, Al Michaels, Marv Albert, Pat Summerall, because I mean those were the guys that you saw and then you heard, like Vern Lundquist, but they kind of had a dry, straightforward type of approach. So that's what you naturally do. You copy what you see. And then there was the introduction of Stuart Scott, who I feel like made it okay to be yourself and made it okay to talk the way you would normally talk amongst your friends and your family. And so when he did that, it was just like, oh, that gave me permission. I could do that in my call somehow. And so I kind of integrated that over time.
Yeah, the hard part was always the descriptive part to me because when I was anchoring Sports Center and had to do highlight, I remember the first time I had to do a highlight, I felt like an idiot because I was just like, "Yeah, y'all see it? He shot it. Like, what you want me to say? Like, it went
Yeah,
in. What else you got? What
yeah,
else do I have? You know what I'm
right, yeah,
saying? So it's like that to me is always the beauty of listening to play by play is that it's not only being comfortable in chaos, it's the fact that you are very quickly able to describe huge moments and what we're seeing in a way that is unique and specific to you. So that's why I asked you, like, how is this a skill that you develop? I know it's reps, but
right.
just develop even your own lingo and language and tone and how you want to do that.
Well, we're listening to a lot of the same music, right? Like Kendrick Lamar had his whole little run here. So I'm incorporating music and pop culture references that I enjoy listening to and feel like, oh, this is a great moment to insert that there. I sat there for a long time trying to come up with my yes or bang or whatever. And you know what? I was just like, shit, it's not coming out. Like, it's just not. Excuse me. So I said, well, I'm just going to talk the way, oh, you go, girl. Oh, you got that. That's all you in her bag. Like whatever is popular, I try to infuse that in what I had because I was running myself crazy trying to figure out, oh man, I just want that. I just want that tagline. That's what you search for. And then I was just like, all right, I know I can take it to break strong, right? I know I can get excited in the moment and like the energy that I bring, I want the call to be unique and different, and I want to put a stamp on it. So I know that God blessed me with a unique sounding voice, but also the energy and enthusiasm like, yo, like this is exciting, like get into it. I want that to come across always within my broadcast. And I hear that oftentimes that when people listen back, they'll say, okay, we know your voice, but also like you brought us in as a viewer. So there are many things that, and I'll be honest with you, that I've kind of gone through in my mind on like the evolution. I try to think of people who are very savvy with wordplay, and I'm like, okay, I could do that. No, that's not me, right? So I just feel like when you talk to me day to day, like on the phone, in person, that's the same person that you're going to get when you see me on camera. And I feel like that hopefully translates across to the viewer.
So when you were starting out and knowing that you were in a very non-traditional lane, because um, when women are in sports, like usually you wind up getting aggregated to sideline reporting, which you did.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can be, an anchor. There's other things that we're used to seeing women, but because this is not a place where we typically see women, what were those early experiences like? Like, what were some of the challenges you already noted or were beginning to note as you were trying to make your way?
I feel like because there weren't many women there, like you spoke of, there was a question mark of whether you belong. And I think we see that even just in sports in general, where it's just like, what do you know? Can you cover this sport? You've never played it. What's your knowledge base like? That was one thing. And then two, because I was then kind of one of the few women, but only black women that they had come across. Oh, well, those microaggressions of, I want you to be yourself and be, saucy or, these kind of placating words to say, be black.
Okay. So
Um,
what they expect you to do on a call, like do a Z formation or something, is like that's what they want you to
yeah,
do.
yeah. It was weird because it was just like, okay, because you're the only one kind of there, so I want you to stand out and like have that pizzazz and that zest along the way. It was very interesting conversations throughout, but I don't know. It just feels like throughout, I think the normal challenges that women, but black women, face of the belonging part and trying to create your lane, gain respect, all those types of things, and so much of what my story is based on my career as a anchor reporter in the news sense because that's what helped to develop me, hone my skills, kind of get it out the mud type of thing before I transitioned over. So it was just people not willing to want to take a chance on me because they had never seen anybody else do that before. So they weren't as interested to say, oh, oh, okay, here's this opportunity. I feel like you'd be best suited for it, or let's give you a try. It was just someone who was willing to take a chance. And I think that was one of the biggest hurdles.
Now, just to back up a little bit, your dad was a news anchor, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was
So,
a
yeah, he was a news anchor there locally in Tampa. Is that right?
That's right. First black anchor reporter in Tampa, worked with Fox 13, and I never got a chance to see him while he did that. He moved over to radio by the time that I was born, but many people just remember him and see him in the community. So he created a great foundation for me that I didn't even quite realize or understand. And you don't even take it in from a pioneering perspective or a trailblazing perspective, because he was just doing something that he loved also. But he played an integral part, or has played an integral part, in me doing what I love, because he always pushed me and he knew what it took to get there. And this, you have to remember, he was in the 70s, right? So a black man, about 6'4", afro, out here in these Tampa streets. But he meant something to this community, and so I'm blessed to be able to say that I can follow in his footsteps. But I know it wasn't easy for him, because he was like, "Oh, I'm covering KKK rallies and I'm doing all these things," and we've been in those really uncomfortable moments. But I feel like he just set the stage for something greater for me and my sister.
What is it about Tampa in the St. Pete area and KKK rallies? Because my
Oh man.
my mentor in journalism, who also was a longtime reporter, like one of the most traumatic experience she ever had was covering a KKK rally in
Wow.
Tampa. And I was like, what is it about Tampa? Why is this there where they want to have these rallies?
Let's just put Florida in that
Yeah.
whole category, because you know what I mean. Like people don't think of it as the South, but there are so many Southern elements to the state of Florida. We're a mess. We're the state of Florida, and we are an absolute mess. And yet we still see it. You drive along I-4 and you still see like a Confederate flag flying high, or I-75 rather, that intersection. Still see it flying high. So it's like crazy that here we are 2025 and we're still talking about it, and all things are just repeating and recycling.
So, as you kind of were starting to gain a foothold in this industry, what kind of, I guess, goals or benchmarks did you set for yourself?
Always wanted to be on ESPN, a national network, but you grow up and you see it's the worldwide leader, and so that was the ultimate goal. And I took a circuitous route, right? I kind of went through the news realm because, again, there weren't many opportunities there, but that really helped me to gain the confidence and experience that I needed to get there. Ultimately, yeah, I'm trying to call the Olympics. I'm trying to call NFL games. I'm trying to call NBA games, but I just wanted to get there first. And ESPN passed me over the first time from a play-by-play perspective, or they just hadn't seen me quite yet. I was
Right.
doing
Did they
sideline
did they tell you
reporting.
why, or or
No,
how they didn't? Okay.
no, no,
Hmm.
but it all comes back down to experience. So thanks to the National Association of Black Journalists, which you and I are a part of, I've gone there every year. And a dude by the name of Roy Hamilton, who was at Fox Sports, he was an executive there at the time, saw me and was just like, "Yo, like, you're doing play by play. Well, we've got the Big East package starting up on Fox Sports One. We would love to give you a try. Like, think about it. Ain't much to think about. Like, let's do this." But so it was them catapulting me onto the national stage. I had done some stuff again with the wide world of sports, but they weren't really comfortable enough for me to move from sideline reporting to the booth. And I think Fox Sports One, I give Roy Hamilton that credit for seeing me and allowing me that space. And I was nervous as all get out, but I got to sit alongside LaChina Robinson, my girl, as we did that. And so from there, it was like, okay, you could do it. You
Mm.
got it.
Yeah, because
And,
now you have a body of work that you can
yes.
obviously you can show
Mm-hmm.
ESPN, and so much of this industry is like climbing steps of just getting to the next level, the next landing.
Yeah.
Um, but even the one thing I noticed about a lot of the play by play sort of icons that you mentioned, they stay in those jobs a long time. So from as somebody who wants to cover an Olympics and wants to be on NBA calls, Is that in any way discouraging? Because like Mike Breen ain't going nowhere, or you have Ryan Rucco, and I know he's like, but there's how do you
Yeah.
how do you handle that part of it, knowing that these jobs are not just hard to come by, people don't leave them.
Yeah, they're legacy positions, right?
Hmm.
Because people are just trying to sit there. Look, I would love to be the Orlando Magic voice, okay? But David Steele has been there since the start of that organization and will probably be there until he says he wants to go. And I think I'm a believer of you till the soil, you'll reap a harvest. So it's not in my time, but God's time. And so that's what I put in front of me. That doesn't mean that I'm not knocking on the door. That doesn't mean I'm not asking for opportunity, but I think that it's always in time that those things come about. And it's helpful if you just keep people see your work, and when people are ready to resign from their position, you want them to have you first of mind to say, hey, this person would be great for it. So I am a patience person, and I've just learned over time it is not in my timing. But as long as I'm taking steps and doing the things that I feel like are making a right play, a right move, then that time will come. That time will come.
Now, as I mentioned, you're the first Black woman to serve as a play-by-play commentator for college football on a major network. That major network, obviously, being ESPN. When did you first learn that you carried that distinction?
So someone told me that like maybe like a few days before I was going to be calling the game. So it was Alcorn State and Alabama
Like your
State,
first game?
like my first game,
Okay,
which was like in 2017, right?
right.
And I was just like, nah. All it did was add more pressure. Like, are you kidding me? Here I am, a young Cub play-by-play, trying to make my national, debut for football, a sport that obviously everyone is watching in America and cares about deeply. And you're gonna tell me that? I was like, oh shoot. I mean, so the pressure was mounting. It was certainly great, and it didn't fall on me the significance, right, of what it meant to be in that moment. So the idea is like I'm just trying not to screw it up. Like I'm just trying to go out there and do what you've been training to do and preparing to do. You hear that all the time, but like I was just like, I don't want to F this up. Because who knows when the next Black woman will have this opportunity to sit in this chair. So I think my buddy Kareem White was one of the first people to let me know, like, hey, Tiff, this is kind of like a big deal. Like I was just like, all right, I'm just going out there doing what I know to do or doing what I have prepared myself to do. So yeah, that was a moment. Sadly, Jemele, we're sitting up here and there's still me.
It's still
Megan
you.
McPeak did it with CBS like a season or two ago.
Still you. So that was actually you're leading right perfectly right into my next question, which is what does that say about our industry that you are not only the first, you're still the only.
It's sad, right? Like everybody needs to catch up, and I feel like we have seen it in other sports where I think Dave Roberts did a great job with his time over the NBA and WNBA and kind of finding more talent, more diverse talent, more talent that represents the sport, um, be in those positions. But football has got a strong hold. Baseball is such a unique sport in that it's just trying to still connect to our community or reconnect to our community again. NHL, it's disappointing, and my hope is that this is a message to all the young minority but Black play-by-plays. Like this is your opportunity. This is your time. We're looking for, and the audience I think is hungry for representation and different voices. So that means to all of the Zora Stevensons and Angel Grays and Megan McPeaks and Ty Floyds and Simone Stanley's like, yo, get in this thing. If you're thinking about you want to do sideline, consider play by play. I mean, it takes time and there has to be a comfortability, those, skill sets that you talked about, being able to do multiple things at one time, just kind of being the conduit or conductor rather of the broadcast. But like this is the best time ever to get into play by play. And you kind of have to sell it or pitch it that way because most people just don't think about it, right? Everyone's intimidated by the position, and that's what we're so in need of. I was watching or looking at a report. I think it was the Black Play by Play Fund at the beginning of this year, and they said we as Black people represent maybe like just under 6% of play by plays total and across the six major sports, which is atrocious. Like that is beyond sad. And when you look at where Black women sit in that, the majority of the play-by-play voices, Cindy Brunson's over with the Phoenix Mercury, and the WNBA is what you're seeing more of. But outside of that, yeah, we're just not represented. We're not represented well enough. And that's part of what I feel like my duty is, my responsibility is to help change that.